What's up, everybody? This is our last Let's Talk About It of 2024, and we are discussing mental health. We have a crowd of people here, and we just want to ask them a couple questions and find out exactly why they're here. I'm here with Nikki B,
Hi.
the host with the most. I know you guys have seen her a little bit of everywhere.
Here.
She's hosting and she's just being a part of the community and making sure that she is seen and heard and that she is supporting. I just want to ask you today, Nikki, what do you hope to get from the Let's Talk About It when we're discussing mental health?
Well, first of all, I think it's so important for all of us to be aware of our mental health and know where we are. But we're not able to do that if we don't have the language to put to those issues or lack or whatever it is. So wherever you are in your life or your business, especially in your business,
Yes.
to be able to have the words. So that's the reason I'm here today, to engage with the community, see what the community is talking about, because I'm a huge advocate for mental health, right? And
Wonderful.
making sure that you know where you are, what you're feeling, and how you're feeling. But again, you won't be able to do that if you can't identify those things. So
Yes. Yes.
that's why I'm here today to support you all. That's one.
Much appreciated.
And I love these conversations. I think they're very well needed. Fortunately and unfortunately, and I think for sure as a business owner, it's important to balance and to know, where you are with your business and your personal and having that balance. So I think
Agreed.
that's so important.
Agreed. And we're so happy to have you. And this topic is very important to us as well. So we want to get as many of you entrepreneurs out so we can talk and so that we can support each other and we can get the knowledge that we need, as Nikki discussed. Thank you so much for being
My
here.
pleasure. Thanks
Yes,
you guys
yes.
for putting this space together,
Yes,
right? Because
yes.
if you all did not put this space, people wouldn't be here, and if it wasn't needed, people wouldn't be here either. So,
Absolutely.
kudos to you all for
Thank you.
continuing to do the community work
Thank
and
you.
putting your voices out there and sharing your testimonies and your stories as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the last Let's Talk About It panel discussion. Today is a forum discussion of 2024. We are going to be discussing mental health awareness, all things mental health, and we appreciate everybody coming out today on this rainy day. We hope to talk and all of us listen and talk and get something from this engagement today. We have a group of amazing individuals in the health and wellness industry in different capacities. They're here to talk about things some of us may be going through. They'll be lending their expertise to help those of us who are navigate resources and decide what route is best in order to protect our mental. So once again, thank you all for being here. I will be introducing everyone. There are a lot of letters up here. Let me just say that. There are a lot of letters up here, so there's a lot to say. So bear with me as I introduce everyone up on stage today who has blessed us with their expertise, and we are so grateful for you guys being here with us today. Oh, by the way, I am Nakia Hudson. I am your moderator today, and I am owner of 2U Lines, and I am also executive producer of the Philip Experience. All right, to my left, we have Tara Hill, MMFT.M.ED. Tara is a master's degree marriage and family therapist who specializes in trauma-informed. Tara is an advocate for consultant, philanthropist, owner, and founder of To Attain Healing LLC. She received her BA in psychology from Cleveland State University and her master's in counseling with emphasis in marriage and family therapy from Liberty University. Tara received her second master's, okay, from North Central University MFT clinical program and is currently pursuing her doctorate in education, trauma-informed educational practices. I must mention, Tara is currently building a school in Africa. That is everything. That is everything. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about that during the show. Next, I'm going to introduce Ms. Siobhan Jones, ME.ED, LPCC-S. Siobhan Jones has over 20 years of experience in child welfare, education, and family children's mental health services in multiple capacities. She is licensed to assess and treat DSM mental health disorders, an approved continuing education provider in the field of community mental health, familiar with most psychological assessment tools, practices privately, and familiar with EAP programs. Has teaching, job training experience, understanding individual education programming, and has full range of social service agency awareness in surrounding areas. Thank you for coming with us, Siobhan. Next, we have Billy Gilliam, a licensed counselor. So beautiful. Billy J. Gilliam is a licensed independent professional clinical counselor and a licensed independent chemical dependency counselor in Cleveland, Ohio. She's an author of the nonfiction novel Recession. She provides clinical services for chemically dependent men and women, those struggling with mental health issues, marital and family counseling, trauma, mediation, consultation, and education. As a clinician, Ms. Gilliam facilitates a process over product ideology where clients can find the paradigms that disrupts the ability to thrive. We are survivors of all types. However, surviving is not thriving. Her purpose is to help others understand their pain, integrate, and thrive. Thank you. Sit down. Next, we have Dr. Will. Dr. Will helped me out here today. He was like, let's get straight to the point. All right. He's a health psychologist, a licensed therapist, professional musician, owner of Washington Wellness Institute, and his motto is "Healing is my art." Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Will. Next to Dr. Will, we have the lovely Miss Sam Walks. Samantha Walker is an entrepreneur, a host, and a model, and she is a host on the Pull Up Experience. She's the one, when you come down those red carpets for those events, you're going to talk to Sam, and she's going to see how beautiful you are and get some information about that event itself. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Ms. Sam. Sam is an inspiring entrepreneur, model, and event host who is an advocate for mental health awareness and brings passion, style, and insight to every venture. Her journey is business and media showcases the power of resilience and creativity. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Last but definitely not least is Mr. Jerome Cash, M.ED, LPC, EMDR. We got you? All right. Jerome has a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Cleveland State University and completed his Bachelor of Arts in Psychology at the University of Akron. Jerome has experience with children, adolescents, and adults who struggle with trauma, depression, addiction, anxiety, parenting, autism, relationship issues, etc. Jerome's client population consists mostly of high school students, college students, and adults. Jerome appreciates assisting and collaborating with clients in achieving their greatest potential and providing access to resources that will benefit individuals and families. What a panel we have today. Yes. All right. We have one more person that is going to come up here and explain a few things to you guys before we get started with the forum. We have the lovely Mrs. Kenya Steele, APRN, FNP-BC. With over 23 years in healthcare, Kenya Steele is a board-certified nurse practitioner and the owner of Candy's Beauty and Wellness Institute. After completing her postmaster's in mental health nursing from Ursuline College in 2018, she expanded her focus to aesthetic care and wellness. Her practice offers med spa services including facials, Botox, fillers, and PDO threads, along with support in weight loss, mental health, wound care, and diabetes management. Kenya takes a holistic approach to health, addressing physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being. She is also the owner of Candy Doll Closet Boutique, offering elegant apparel for modern professional women that helps women make their physical appearance to be to their liking. This young lady helps people with their inside and out. If you can come on up, please.
Thank you, Nakia. It feels weird to actually have somebody talk about you. I'm like, that's sweet. Thank you. So as she said, my name is Kenya Steele. I am a board certified nurse practitioner. And when I spoke with Nakia about this event, I thought it would be an amazing opportunity, especially in a non-clinical setting, because that's the setting that I predominantly work in, nurse-patient relationship. So when you're in that setting, the conversation, the restrictions are a little bit different. But here, I can really be just honest and bold. And what is it? Let's get into it. What is it called? Let's talk about it. I thought that was this is a perfect opportunity to just dive into depression. Let's talk about it. Now, depression is something that's so common. I don't know about you. Has anybody ever felt they was depressed or sad? Raise your hand. Yeah. Do you know somebody that's been diagnosed with depression? Raise your hand. Do you know someone that you feel is depressed and probably needs some help? That's exactly how common it is. And because it's so common, a lot of healthcare systems have integrated questions to address depression. Even if you go to like your primary care doctor or any healthcare center, they'll kind of ask you those questions. Do you feel safe at home? That's what that's about. They're addressing the issues because they know that it's a problem. So what I thought would be an interesting thing to do is actually give you guys a patient health questionnaire. It's called a PHQ-9. The 9 stands for 9 questions. Now these questions are all geared towards depression. Where does these questions come from? In the medical psychiatric world, our Bible is the DSM-5. Okay, so that's similar to like a cookbook. If you wanted to bake a cake and you want to know how to bake a cake, you go to the table of contents. Here's cake, these are the ingredients you need. Same thing with depression or any other mental health diagnosis. You have to meet certain criteria. So if you have a bad day today and just lay in the house all day, don't want to do nothing, that doesn't mean that you're depressed. You can have a sad day or depressed mood. But there's a lot more that goes into actually being diagnosed with quote depression. Okay? So this questionnaire, I give this questionnaire to every member every week in their household. We address it every visit. Now, when you get to receive the questionnaire, I want you guys to really be honest with yourself. We're not going to read it. You're going to keep it. Once you complete the questionnaire, you keep it. It's yours to keep. Typically, I usually read these out to the patient and they answer it. But I find you tend to be a little bit more genuine when you actually read it to yourself. You know, you tend not to, you don't want nobody to think you're depressed because of the stigma. And, you know, we come from a long line of strong women, or you need to pray to God, and all those things are great. And that's a good support, but sometimes that's not enough. And it's okay if that's not enough. So when you get your questionnaire, I'm going to go over it with you really fast. Again, it's 9 questions. And these questions are addressing how you are feeling over the past 2 weeks. So today and 2 weeks prior. Okay, within the past 14 days, have you had any of these issues? Now, the first choice is not at all, meaning no, I haven't been sad. The second choice is several days. So I go 14 days, maybe you'll say 4 days after that time I maybe felt that way, maybe 3. More than half the days, maybe 10 days you feel that way, or nearly every day. Okay, so whatever relates to you, that's the bubble you pick and you feel. When you get down to the bottom of it, once you're done, you're going to get each question worth a point. It's going to give you a point. Based off of your number, if you look at the bottom of the page, it's going to tell you whether or not any type of depression is noted, or you're suffering from mild, severe, to moderate. Now, let me point out, this is not a diagnostic tool. Okay? If you do this and you say, oh my God, I'm severely depressed, this is not a diagnostic tool. I like to consider this a tool to start a conversation. Okay? If you score something that says your depression, what I want you to do is take that form, keep it to yourself, and you call your healthcare provider. And you say, we need to talk. I'm not feeling like myself. I did this scale, and I want to come in and talk to you. That's all you do. Okay? It doesn't mean you have depression. You might be tired of because you're anemic. You might have thyroid problems. You know what I mean? You may be in pain that's causing you to be depressed. If we address your pain, then your mood will get better. So don't try to, hide or try to minimize how you feel. Answer this question truthfully. We're not going to see it. So we don't know what you're going to put. This is for you to keep. The only thing I ask you is that the last question, number 9, and I'm not going to read it out loud, but number 9, if either one of you or any one of you answer yes to that, promise me that you'll either come to me or one of these panelists to discuss that ASAP. That's only if it's a yes to number 9. Okay? If you don't feel comfortable with coming to any of us, then you can dial 988. 988. Okay? Any questions about this questionnaire? We'll give them about 5 minutes to fill it out, maybe? Few minutes, 5 minutes just to fill it out. Again, this is yours to keep. Answer it, fold it, keep it away. Any questions about anything? And I'll still be here if you have questions. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole event because I have a prior engagement, but I will be here just to help address this part. Any questions from anybody? And I'll be able to walk around if you don't understand what it's asking or if you want clarification for any questions. Okay? All right, so this one here. Or can it be assigned in regards to? I'm sorry, I can't.
Sorry, I forgot I had another mic.
My question was, is it okay to ask a question that relates to the questions that are on the questionnaire? If you know someone who may possibly be dealing with depression or some form of mental health awareness, how important is it, or what approach can I give to them to help them be more aware?
Now that response is a multi-faceted answer, but I'll start with answering what I feel and what in my experience showed me. It all depends on where that person's at. Because a lot of times you'll have people who are stating that I'm sad, I'm depressed, and you'll say, hey, let's go do this, let's go to the doctor, let's do they don't want it. But that 988 number, when I was in situations like that where I wasn't able to get, they don't want to talk to nobody, they don't want to listen, I called that number, and when I called that number, when I tell you support was at her door, right away. So there's a lot of different angles, and I'm sure the panelists will definitely address in more detail from their experience and their services. But a lot of times, because there's a stigma attached to it, people don't want to admit it. They don't want to tell you. You come from the saying, well, we go to church, we pray, or you come from, what you looking sad for? You got a good job, you got money. What you depressed for? So a lot of times people hold it in. So I definitely think that we all have a responsibility to know what to do. We all have a responsibility. We don't have to be depressed. It's our responsibility that if we see someone struggling, that we reach out and get help, or to contact someone At 988, they have multiple resources for even get in contact with someone, get information from some of the pathways out there. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate that. Everybody make sure they get a form to fill out. All right, we are going to get this form underway, and I just want to tell everyone exactly how everything is set up. So I'm sure everyone. Yes. I mean, because
You go first.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give, first of all, I really appreciate you, I'm sorry, I can't think of her name right now, Sandra, for giving us an introduction to depression and an introduction to the forum. I've utilized the forum, but I want to make sure we do a couple of things just to add to it a little bit. That if there's any level, I love to give people a sense of agency, a sense of control, a sense of power over themselves, right? If there's any discomfort at any point in time, please feel free to stop answering questions or not to answer if you feel it's a level. Here's why that's important. And I want to make sure as people open up, we can close you back up, because I don't know what can be triggered as you complete. Does that make sense? You know, so I just want to make sure that we make this place stay safe, right? I think the forum is an awesome forum. I appreciate the introduction of it. I just want to make sure that as we open, we can close, you know, and that you walk out whole. You know, I don't want you bleeding. You know what I'm saying? So we want to just make more emotionally, you know, that is. We just want to make sure that you stay safe. But I just want to make sure you have a sense of agency over that. So even when I'm doing these type of things, it's like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. You know, part of this process is making you know that you have agency and control over your own wellness and the pace thereof. Does that make sense? So I just want to make sure we want to make sure we share that experience.
I also want to add, Dr. Will, that it's important to also take your time with that, because if you're drinking alcohol and you're taking a depression test, that's a no-no. So I'm very sensitive about my emotions, and I want you to be too. So, like you said, we're doing a forum up front, so I'll keep it real with you. The L in my license is also in liability. So the L means liability. So I'm liable for you too if you're in front of me. So just take care of yourself as much as I want to take care of you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm glad you guys jumped in because that's what this is about. This is about making a safe space. All of us here, we've had panel discussions and we've had people on, but we all felt very strongly about mental health. Us as entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs in the room, I know we get extra stressed out. You know, we're juggling family, we're juggling possibly a job, and then on top of that, our own businesses. So we want to make this a safe space, and like Billy said, and like Dr. Will said, we want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and that you do leave here closed. I would really love the way you put that. So I am here just to keep the flow going. But these professionals are going to give their opinion and try to answer as many questions as they can. That's the reason why we put the questions out, so you guys can ask questions and get answers to things that are on your mind or things that you may be going through. So put questions out. Everyone is welcome to stand up and ask questions. And let's just get an open conversation, an open dialect, and try to do some healing. So I'm just gonna throw the first statement out there. We just talked about depression. And I know there's in 33% from February 1st to February 13th of 2023, 33% of adults reported symptoms of anxiety and or depression disorder, compared to 32.3% of adults in the United States, and that's in Ohio. I know that as of 2023, an estimated 6% of U.S. adults had a current ADHD diagnosis, which is about 15.5 million people. And it's been increasing over the past 2 decades. It's just constantly going up, constantly increasing. And once again, touching on the entrepreneur aspect of it, we're wearing a lot of hats. We have to be a lot of people. We have to be a lot of things to a lot of people. So I know that we can be all over the place and just trying to find some peace, period. I also wanted to mention that many adults with ADHD don't know they have it. With some studies suggesting that less than 20% are aware that they even have it. We're used to being all over the place, switching from this, switching from that. We don't even realize that that's what's really going on with us, that we need help and that we can get some help so that we can have some kind of calm and balance. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor to that. And again, if you will, you can touch on it. We can start right down the road. That'll work.
I'm gonna actually say, as long as social media is consistent with us, those numbers are gonna continue to climb. We are in a world where anxiety, ADHD, and depression are really, really rocketing because of social media. Yes, it's a great tool to use for business, but it's also, you have to de-plug yourself. As an entrepreneur, as a mental health professional, I deplug. No, I didn't see your post. No, I didn't see that. No, I didn't see this. I am on there sometimes for business and I get right off. And I can honestly say, as long as social media is around, those numbers will continue to rocket.
I agree. I've also been following the news and those statistics and seeing coverage about adults who are finding out that they're now ADHD or ADD, and how depression is attached to undiagnosed cases of ADHD and what that can do to you, not knowing that you have these disorders and just being so disorganized and how that affects your life. I remember when I realized that I had ADD as an adult and how much it changed my life just to realize all I had to do was adjust how I was living and how it affected my grades as a student. It didn't affect me until I was in college, but it was profound. I found out I was able to succeed as a person. And so I use that as an example with my clients, just having awareness of what you do as a person can change your life tremendously.
So I tend to look at it where, the diagnostics of ADHD, depression, and anxiety, we're looking at things that are really symptomatic of a larger. I do completely agree regarding the unplugging of social media. I actually pay an organization to get me off of line, and I can't get on. Like between a certain times of the day, it locks me out. Simply because I have the behavioral compulsion to just get on, and this kind of is detraining my brain on doing that, right? But I will also add, what's important to me is not just the idea of the symptoms of depression and anxiety and ADHD, it's the sensations in the body, and very somatically influence. And that really just means is I pay attention to the sensations in my body, and why am I feeling lethargic? Why am I feeling heavy? Or why am I feeling erratic? Why? So those things, those sensations in the body are helping to influence what's happening and how you're feeling, mentally and emotionally. So I completely agree that if we don't deplug, we're going to continue to see increases in that. But then we have more things that are at play at that, right? We compare ourselves to everyone and everything all the time. And other people's lives look a lot more glamorous, a lot more social. People look like a lot more happier, And I have my one in our past. I have this one social media person. I don't even know her name, but I love to hate her. I keep her around because I just love to hate her. And I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's so funny. It's a lady who cooks in the kitchen. She makes everything from scratch. She's wearing heels and pearls. Her kitchen is the most immaculate thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And she makes her cereal from freaking scratch, right?
So her to that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And I watched that not because I'm really interested in what she's doing, I'm watching it because the expectation is so unrealistic. And so we look at these things so we can say to ourselves, look at yet what I'm not doing. Look, I am not yet measuring up, right? And so it increases our anxiety and it keeps us more depressed because we see these things where all these people are going, not knowing it might have taken her 8 hours to do that tape for that 30-second reel, you know? So I just wanted to make sure I added that part in there, is that we are always comparing ourselves and we never seem to quite measure up. So we're going to always feel these experiences.
Let me use my mic, I guess.
Yeah. It's not personal, I promise. So for me, it's important to understand that depression, there's like 9 different types of depression. So which one are you, right? That's a lot. So I want to break this down in 3 levels. We have to understand that we have to treat the symptoms, not the diagnosis. Sometimes the diagnosis controls our lives, and we have to understand that healing is a lifestyle. And so when we are talking about depression, well, just because you're sad doesn't mean you're depressed, right? So we have to feel our feelings, first of all. So from level 1, we have to understand that our lifestyle needs to adjust. Before I give you a diagnosis for depression, I'm also going to ask about your physical health, your emotional health, your family health, your occupational health, your spiritual health, your environmental health, your educational health, your emotional health. There's 8 different ways to look at your life, right? The second one is relationships. With social media, of course, what really is social media? It's relationships. We want to belong. We want to be with somebody. We want to feel like we're connected. And a lot of times, the lack of that presence creates mental health symptoms to occur, not the diagnosis, the symptoms to occur. And lastly, we have to understand the system that we're in as well. So that need to be successful, the need to be seen, that is a sense of validation, of something externalized, not internalized. And so you're chasing something that's outside of you, not really connecting to what's within you. And so I just want to acknowledge that, with depression, ADHD, anxiety, whether you get it when you're 50 or you get it when you're 2 years old, the whole point is, who are you around, who are you with, and who are you becoming?
Okay, as the non-letter haver up here, the entrepreneur up here, I just want to say that comparison is the thief of joy. A lot of people know my story, a lot of people don't, but my Instagram name is Kirby Confident and Nervous. And I often get, yeah, that's me, girl. Hey. People always ask me, I've had several people ask me, how can you be confident and nervous? I said, duality. You can be several different things at the same time. So I was diagnosed with panic anxiety disorder and severe depression when I was a teenager. And then for years, I just kind of let it just float and be what it was. But in 2016, I started going to therapy because I said, something is going on and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to control it, how to face it, how to stop it. And I've noticed over time that changing certain aspects of my life has helped me to be able to better regulate, how to express what I'm feeling and being honest, not only to the people around me, but to myself. And I have to tell myself almost every day, it's okay to have a bad moment. That doesn't mean the rest of the day is going to be a bad day. That means now I have to take ownership of how I'm feeling and how I choose to move. So being an entrepreneur and always having to be on social media for work, I noticed that my anxiety increases the more that I'm on social media. So I'm scrolling, and we all know some of those pages that we just don't want to see pop up. There are certain pages I have blocked because I don't want to see the content that they have. And sometimes it seeps through the cracks. So, I'll see something and the way that my brain functions, I'll have flashes and images in my head. And it gets really dark sometimes, like the Cleveland Remembrance page. I cannot look at that page. When I see kids going missing all the time, I have to unplug from those things because whatever it is, it gets into my psyche. And, I'm learning to be more aware, more conscious of the things that even when I watch on TV, especially right before I go to bed, and I am highly medicated.
There is no shame in being medicated. So I don't want anybody to feel like you just have to just go through it. Like medicine is there to help you. And medicine can come in many different forms. So it doesn't always mean the sertraline, which is my best friend. Like I love me some Zoloft, like I do, because it helps me to be able to focus, function, and to think a lot more clearly. So I just want, especially entrepreneurs, and I know I'm talking way too much, but I needed this. I needed this because I've been struggling for the past couple of months. But if you look at me, you would never know. I'm not going to post that on social media that I didn't get out of bed today. I'm not going to, that I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm not going to post that. But you're going to see me on the red carpet. But that's because that's what I choose to expose of myself. But I also find when I do have those moments where I can be candid and be honest about what I'm going through, people are like, me too. And so, my objective is just to open the door for us to not just have this conversation today, but it to be a continuous conversation in our community.
Thank you all for sharing. That was amazing. That was. Speaking of ADHD and depression, I shouldn't have been last because I have ADHD and I definitely forget questions, so I'll make sure I go first. I'm joking. It has been interesting to see a rise in ADHD and ADD. I've been following that on the news as well. So to see more women diagnosed with ADHD and ADD and just coming out and talking about it, I think is an amazing thing. Because first and foremost, it's hard to talk about it and open up about those type of things, especially as Black people. I struggled with ADHD at a young age. I was on Ritalin in grade school back then. It was a thing where it was like, oh, you're on medication, like something's wrong with you. And so for me, it was embarrassing. But it did help, but there were side effects, like when I got home and came down and got agitated. So it was hard for my mother, especially being a single mother and having to go through that, with a son back then, really didn't know what it was, but teachers would label it as bad. Try to put us in special classes, things like that. So it's been a God experience to be where I'm at today and talk about ADHD and actually be in a position to have it as a strength and tell my story. Like I would have never thought I would have been able to be in a position where I talked about my ADHD and talked about depression. I went through depression as well back in 2016. Again, not talking about anything, just keeping everything bottled up and literally picked up the bottle. So that bottle was my best friend back in 2016. As a Black man, it was hard to tell somebody that you were going through something, or you were weak. You couldn't handle a job. It was too much pressure. You couldn't handle people. It was too much pressure. So I kept everything bottled in, and the only way that people found out is because my health declined. I started taking off of work, was in the hospital, not eating, wasn't looking healthy. So things didn't change for me until I actually got help. It was hard for people in my family to know what was going on for me, but that's when I started to heal, when people knew. One of my best experiences was finding a Black therapist, going to group therapy. That changed my whole entire life because I couldn't do it on my own. You literally cannot do it on your own, especially when you're in that dark, deep hole and you just feel like it's you there. And I think that's where we struggle with a lot, is a lot of people set it up here, that comparison of, well, this person is here, I'm here, I'm never gonna get there. Life is hard, I might as well get this over with. But we all have a purpose at the right time. And we all go through something to tell our testimonies for the person who is going through it as well. So it's hard to open up, but just know that you're not the only one going through it. We all go through similar things, and it feels so good to just release that stuff from your body that's trapped. We don't realize how much the body holds everything that we went through. The body keeps the score. That is an amazing book. So if you haven't heard of that, The Body Keeps the Score is a great book. Yes.
Especially in the womb, ladies. We hold a lot of trauma in our wombs, just saying.
I have a question for the whole panel real quick. I want to address the elephant in the room. Just this past Tuesday or Wednesday morning, we all went through a group trauma as a nation, right? And I want to know from you guys as an expert opinion. I didn't see people crashing out. I didn't see people just, go here. Do these, how do I say this, things that risk their mental well-being. And what do you think that we as a nation or as a people can do collectively to help mend that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first before I forget. It's been difficult during this time. I did not know how much of an impact like this election will have on people. From all races, from all cultures, or from teenagers. Like my clients are going through it, and only thing that we can do right now is again be here for each other, talk about the things that we feel, and communicate that with people that are close to us. So again, this is a free, safe place. So hopefully, if anybody has any thoughts or feelings on that topic, you are open to share, because this is what this room is for. Teenagers have been going through it. Those who have friends of color, those who have friends in the LGBTQ community, clients who have wives, who are a part of different jobs and things like that. Like, people are in fear where they're just leaving. They're leaving, they're scared. People have left the city to just get away. So a lot of people are going through it, and we just need each other. Like, Trump has been president before. We made it, we survived. So we just got to look back and look at the things of how we overcome those situations and utilize each other.
I want to say that I shut down my business the next day. I have Black American staff. I have African American staff, so it was for me as an African American business owner to give them that day, like to help them feel their emotions and take that day, And I think, like you said, we have to come together and stand on what's going on and be present, because I think that this is where the fight really starts with us. I'm very spiritual, so I look at what happened in a different light, but it was heavy. It was heavy as a woman. It was heavy as a Black woman. It was heavy as a woman with Black boys. It's heavy. So for me, addressing your feelings and understanding what your emotions are telling you is real. What happened a couple of days ago. So
I'm not trying to sound dark about this, but I want to be transparent. I had to look at it from the past, present, and future for people. I didn't close down, but I had 10 clients, and there were 10 different diagnoses, and they all talked about the post-election. So a lot of them, they all suffered from post-election emotional distress, right? And what concerned me was that there was a fear, and the fear was the foundation, and there was shame, guilt, and judgment that was ruminating in their minds and their hearts. And it was breaking their spirit of hope. And we try to be hope merchants as healers. We try to offer the possibility of change. I can't make you change, but I can offer the possibility of what that might look like. And that was taken away in that moment. So in the past, there was this shame and guilt about not being enough for the moment, and I trusted the system. Presently, understanding that where do we go next? And then in the future, having the fear of understanding that the Senate has changed, the Congress has changed. It's not even about Trump, right? It's about the next 36 years of our lives. So that means that my generation, our generation, will not see the change that possibly could have been. Which means that our future is going to have to be developed through this obstacle. So what does that mean for us? And to keep it brief, I had to look at art. Artists can tell you where you need to go. Artists will tell you what you need to see. Artists will tell you what needs to happen. Artists are some of the most resilient people of any generation. And there's probably going to be a whole other genre of music coming out, right? Hip hop was the culture, rap was the rebellion, trap was the trauma. So there's going to be another one. So for me, I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and I'm also making myself accountable for how I see a black girl develop, how I see a black boy know themselves. So not based on output, but focused on input. There's a lot of black boys, black men are focused on output, not input. Then they use women as a way to justify their input, and it should be their own. So how we use each other in this system. We shouldn't be giving ourselves, we should be offering ourselves. And so it's the mindset that has to shift. And one last thing, is that Trump isn't really the problem. Trump is the avatar of what white oppression and white patriarchy stands for. So I don't want to give him that much credit. So if you didn't know, now you know, people. And it's not romanticizing what this thing we already knew it is. It's not romanticize this.
I don't have much to say. The day of the election, I chose to be by myself, and prepare myself for what was to come the next day. So, I spent the evening with my plants. That's something I do for myself to help myself heal when I was feeling anxious. So I sat in quiet, I didn't listen to the news, I didn't pick up the phone with the internet. I didn't answer phone calls or anything, because I knew, I work in a practice that is multicultural, so I knew that I was going to have to deal with different opinions and different feelings and emotions. I knew I was not going to shut down the next day. So I had to receive what feelings and emotions and opinions that was to come in that day. And I had to be prepared for that. Because in the field that we all work in, we're supposed to be available for people. And so and I'm still in that space because that's where people are. When you turn on the television, you open up your phone. But I did prepare my family and my children who are still like hurting and disappointed. And my girlfriends, and women, black women, who you hear that theme, who have carried this nation, and the insults. That's what we deal with. But I'm still in that healing process. with my plants. And that's what I do to take care of
I would just say that, I checked in with everyone that, clients that day and the next day. And it's the first thing that we talk about, right? And, lots of anxiety and lots of agitation and anger and just traumatic responses for the end result of what was not a super surprise for me. But what I did talk about more importantly with everyone is like, don't give them your body. You know what I'm saying? I said, go through this period of mourning. That's what we're doing. Like we're mourning. And we're mourning a couple of things. We're mourning the illusion of what we thought was could be, but beyond that, after we go through this period of mourning, it's not to give them our bodies. I work with a lot of individuals who have the potential to be deported, like all this stuff that can happen. And if we give them our body, then there's a spiritual enslavement that already happens, like there's an ownership they get to have over you. And that's not something I'm willing to give, right? So that's something I have to consistently work on, that I can be confident in my uncertainty, that even though I'm uncertain how things are going to come out, I'm confident that I'm going to still be okay, because I have to be. Because what is the alternative? Right. To give them me too? And that's not okay. That's not okay. So that's what it's largely has been like for me with working with people, even for myself, is finding ways to soothe the body and to not give them that. Because it's one thing to worry. It's one thing to have your body in aches and tightened because you don't know what's going to happen, right? And you're not confident that you're going to be okay when that happens. But I'm very, very sure that regardless of the outcome, that I can still be okay, because I always have been. Look, I've been like, at this age, at this big age of me, being through George Bush's, Ronald Reagan, I've been through all of them, I'm going to be okay, not despite, but because. Not despite, but because. So that's been it for me, working with people, and it's increasing our body work with them so they can regulate and self-soothe.
Amen. So just real quick, I want everybody to take a nice big breath in and just let it out. All right, I want to open this up to you guys, and I have a list of things that I mean, you can talk about anything. Like we're saying to you guys, this is a safe space. I just want to run down this quick list. My first thing was social media, because I know social media it affects us all, and everything that they discussed up here on the panel, up here, the therapists and counselors and letters, everything that everyone is, and Sam has letters because she walks. No. And anything is on the table, guys. I want everybody to feel comfortable. I'm going to open this up to you so you guys can answer some questions, but I just want to shoot through some things real fast so that maybe something you want to talk about, you may have forgotten, so that you can, make sure that you're asking the right questions for yourself. We talked about signs of depression. We talked about social media. We talked about ADHD. I want to discuss clinical solutions. You guys, if you guys want to talk a little bit about that, how stress affects the body, and again, if you know someone with mental illness, what's the proper way to address them, so that you're not coming off as being, you're in my business and you don't know what you're talking about. I also we talked about, Kenya talked about mental health phone lines. You also discussed groups. I want to talk about different groups, and I'm sorry, Jerome. Jerome, you discussed groups. The church. We can't forget about the church. Studies have shown that people that believe in a higher being tend to be less stressed, tend to be more happy. So let's talk about the church. We can't leave the church out. Meditation, exercising. most of us have those Planet Fitness workout. We might not make it, but when we do, we know that it helps us to feel better. We can just woosah. Want to talk about natural remedies. I want to know what you guys' opinions is about ashwagandha, marijuana, CBD products, gummies. Just the floor is open. So we want to get our audience to get involved because you guys have some really good questions that you want to ask. So feel free. I'm gonna come out. Brandon will be out, and we're gonna make sure that you guys have the floor so that you can ask whatever questions you want to ask. Oh, mushroom, shrooms? Yeah. Let's talk about it. Like, please, let's. Please. It makes me happy now. Yes. Psychedelics, yes.
So let's talk about this. First, we'll say so. Really? Oh, really?
I just wanted to give
Yeah, I have a question. First time I've ever been in a setting like this. Listen, heard, and I think everything is great. And I know you can't cover everything. There's some things that I think that maybe is very vital. Never heard anyone talk about veterans. Never heard anybody talk about elderly people. To me, that's important. One, I am 100% disabled veteran. I go to Canada.
Thank you for your service. Indeed.
I attend counseling constantly. I mean, when you say keep it real, I keep it real. They put me on the chair watch list. I'm on the ordinance watch list because of the job, things I've dealt with in 20 years in the military. I'm not a threat. I don't think I'm targeted. I don't think it's because I'm black. It's because I have knowledge. So that's why about the veterans things is if you have a parent, well, I'm old, I don't look old, but I tell you I'm old. Parents, grandparents, back in my day, they were just strong. You never knew. And they just kept it that way. And like a lot of you guys in the family said, people don't bring nothing out. They don't say nothing. They remain strong. And they kept it that way pretty much to their death. So to me, there's nothing that the panel has done wrong as far as I'm concerned. Great information. And I know you can't expound on everything and everybody, but the veterans and our elderly, to me, I think that would be a great focus.
Glad you brought that up.
So I want to say thank you for saying that. And what I was going to say goes directly in line with you. So I didn't say what I actually specialize in, but so I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, and I did that because of veterans, because I needed something deeper than what I actually knew. I'm also a psychedelic integrated specialist, so I use ketamine. I am MDMA assisted therapy, so I'm certified in MDMA, Molly, which you all know. I'm also cannabis informed with that as well, but I learned that through the process that stress is a wellness currency, and so with veterans especially, my specialty is in moral distress, knowing the right thing to do, but because of an institutional or organizational constraint, you can't perform at your best ability, and it causes secondary trauma like burnout, like job satisfaction issues, compassion fatigue, and then it goes into moral injury, which is what many veterans live with. And so I understand what you're saying. If you want to talk about clinical work, when I do hypnosis and do clinical work, many veterans go back to infancy. Many of them go back to ages 5 to 12. And those are really important developmental times. And so, in working with psychedelics especially, it opens up another possibility, because to be a civilian doesn't make sense in this society right now. So I'm not going to lie to you. I understand. And so I have to use those strong affects to get somewhat of a difference, to normalize and re-regulate what you've been conditioned to be for our country. So thank you. And I also hope that you become strong enough to be vulnerable, because the issue of our culture is that we're so strong, but we're never strong enough to be vulnerable. And that's what we're trying to change right now.
I don't know if I can come behind that, but I do want to piggyback off. Our culture is found on strength, and a lot of times we have a very, very hard time being vulnerable, especially if it was never taught in our households. I am one of those people who was taught, strength, 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 strength. But I also use plant medicine not in my practice, but for myself. I haven't gotten there yet, but I have a ketamine training. I think February coming up. But I've done ayahuasca, I've done MDMA, but because I'm spiritual based as well, like it takes a lot sometimes for the church. Like you talked about the church and religion. I'm very deep. So in order for me to shift myself, I have to find myself before I can help somebody else find themselves. And that's what my practice is. That's what to attain healing means for me and my practice. I can't do the work for you guys if I'm not doing the work for myself. So a lot of you all know that. If you follow me, I'm very transparent with those things. But the psychedelics, the plant medicine, those things, I would love to see our culture more tapped into, because our ancestors, we hold a lot of their traumas. Yes. And that goes back to the body somatics. And somatic therapy is really real. Like you have to be moving around and doing those things to help you navigate everything, not just your mental health.
I'm so glad. I don't do any of those therapies, but I'm glad to hear that is being developed and can be offered for our servicemen out here, because I did a crisis response for some police officers in the past, and my brother is a police officer, and after I did that crisis response for the police officers, I was just so shocked. Because just listening to what you're saying about like the foundation of how the country trains our servicemen and our armed officers. If you listen to some of the folks who become police officers and firemen, most of those people served in the armed forces, and they've been in wars. So it's not a lot of training, and it's a lot of expectations for them. And most of the time, they've been in war, and they don't get a lot of support or services or therapy. They just go from one trauma to the other, to another, to another. So these are the men that you see on the news who are killing our children on the street, or either they're seeing children and families being murdered on the street. So it is a lot of violence and trauma being committed over and over again, and no healing is being done for any of these people. And immediately when I did that trauma response, I called my brother and I asked him, I said, what's your health benefit? What's your EAP program? What's your support? Who supports you? He was like, it's not a lot. So I just wanted to give that information because, like, as lay people, we just see the news. We don't know the stories behind that. But I sat with some officers and literally saw them crying after they were out on a crisis because of family. got murdered, no men were crying and they were telling me. So I was in the service. And then I got a job as a police officer.
I just want to make sure I highlighted the elderly, right? And so one thing that's really important is that, you know, our culture doesn't have a lot of respect for the elderly the way you might see other cultures do. So there's such an increase in isolation. And when there's an increase in isolation, you see depression, right? There is such a significant population of depressed elderly individuals. And people would just see them, oh, they're just a little slower because they're older, right? Or they're quieter because they're older, or whatever the case may be. And oftentimes they're isolated. Isolation is destructive, no matter what the age. There's a difference between solitude and isolation. I'm all for solitude. Solitude is a pouring in and stepping away. Isolation is a withdrawal. It's withdrawing from society. And so when we are not connecting to our elderly, you know, we're not checking in with them and giving them value and purpose, people disappear. And I mean disappear emotionally and psychologically and spiritually. People tend to disappear. So we have to give them purpose and value and let them know we still see them, you know. The other thing I wanted to make sure that I add when we talked about veterans is the sense of moral injury. When an individual is told to do something that's against their natural morals, but it is the order to do so. And I can't imagine living underneath that, right? And so that's fine as long as you're in the space, but when you come home, you have to say, whoa, I was doing this, but I believe this. And what's that's like for someone who has to hold space for two different ideologies for who they are and what they were told to do, you know? And so there's trauma within itself. I too am very spiritually oriented. Now I might not use the phrase the church, but spirituality and spiritually oriented, I firmly believe the infrastructure of that helps create the foundation for healing across the board.
Indeed.
Across the board.
Indeed.
You know, that to me is where I want to, that's my beginning for me, for sure. So I just want to make sure I added that part regarding elderly and making sure we check in and connect and check in, because see, they may give the impression that they may not need something, but they need your presence. They need your presence. You know, my mom is 74 years old, and I made it. I was like, no matter how busy I am, like, hey, I need to go out to dinner with mom and check in. We go to lunch every week. I need to do it. Because see, what I don't want is that, God forbid, if she goes before I do, that I say, oh, I should have spent more time.
Right.
I should have done this, you know. So it's just important that we see them and that they have purpose and that they feel that they have purpose, you know. You know, and just real quick, I told my mother went over to my daughter's house and she had offered to help her with the laundry, and my daughter was like, no, I got it, Grandma, it's okay. I said, you should have let her do it. I said, it wasn't a burden to her. She was feeling needed and purpose. Give it to her. Give her that, you know. So when she offers to help me, I take that, you know, because it gives her like, okay, good, I'm needed on purpose. That feels good. Why are you thinking you're helping her? She wants to feel that, you know. So I just want to be able to add that.
I wanted to tap in a little bit more about generational trauma. I can't speak to everyone, but I know in particular with Black women and the mother-daughter dynamic is sometimes a struggle. I know it was a struggle for me because most of my life I didn't understand my mother and where she was coming from. So she found out that I had something going on with me by the age of 6. And she said, you're just like your father. As a 6-year-old, I don't know what that means, right? So then I have to go start seeing the social worker because some of my behaviors are strange. I'm getting sent to the office because Samantha's lashing out because she wants attention, right? Because we see that they just want attention. We do want attention because we want somebody to ask us and let us respond without feeling like, oh, you're going to get put on punishment. You know, I'm sad. What are you sad about?
You have more things than most kids your age have. But it's not about that. But what I learned after my mother's passing was that she had dealt with so much trauma from her mother, and I'm pretty sure that her mother had trauma from her mother, and that was all passed down to me by me being the end. I was the last. And so it's very generational, it's very real. And it took me until I was well into my 30s to start digging and asking more questions, because my mother was, we don't do therapy, we don't go to church, I'm not telling nobody my business, and you better not either. And the number one rule, what goes on in this house stays in this house. So you're talking about a 6-year-old who's always witnessed domestic abuse, that's witnessing violence between my mother and my siblings, my mother versus my dad, my mother versus my stepdad. Those are all the things that were embedded in me. Okay? And so trying to get to the root of why am I always searching for someone to listen? Why I'm willing to put myself out there for men who are not worthy, because I just want somebody to listen. I just want somebody to ask me if I'm okay and to allow me to have that space. But I learned that I didn't need a person to validate me. The only person I wanted to validate me was my mom. I didn't get confirmation from her until years after she passed. It's just been 4 years in July. And I literally was at an event, and a lot of people know I'm like a lot of people up here, I'm very spiritually in tune. And that's where I started my journey of healing, because I lost both of my parents and 3 of my best friends within 4 years. So at one point I said, okay, whatever is going on, I have to fix it. And I told my family, I said, I'm in therapy, I see a psychiatrist, I meditate, I go outside, I smoke some trees, I eat a shroom, I take my meds, I do what I feel like I need to do. So I was at a show and I'm hosting. I wasn't even hosting, I was getting an award. And I stood there because I was in such disbelief that someone said watching my journey help heal them. And I'm just like, me? How? I didn't think it was possible. But as I was standing there and they're telling me all these accolades about me, I'm just kind of in disbelief, but then I feel this chill that I couldn't understand what it was. So all of a sudden I walked down the runway, I got my award, and I said, she told me I can. And a lot of people didn't understand what I was saying. So when I got home and I'm telling my best friend about it, she said, you know, your mom was there today, right? And I said, was it when I got the trophy? She said, yeah. She said, I saw her and I felt it. And at that moment, that's when I knew I was capable of getting a handle on this thing. I got a handle on breaking these generational curses. And that's something that a lot of us in our generation are working on. We're trying to break those barriers. We're trying to tear down those walls where we feel like we can't be honest about what we're feeling, because we have to be strong. We have to raise the kids. We have to maintain the house. You know, you gotta look good when you go out. You gotta make dinner. You gotta do all these things. But then it's like, well, who's pouring into her? You know, and it's not always from a partner or a romantic relationship. So that's why, and I always have to shout them out when we're in spaces together, because being a part of the pull-up experience has helped transform my life. Because on any given day, I can text, call anybody in that group chat and say, hey, today is not a good day. And they'll say, how can I support you? That's how we talk to each other. And they all shaking their heads because they know I've been going through it. And I will text, hey, y'all, I'm not good. And it's okay. And I don't feel like I'm being judged anymore for it. I was in friend circles where I felt like I could not express myself because, oh, you're just being dramatic. You're weird. I got your weird a lot because I do have a lot of interesting tendencies. But your circle and the people you surround her with, it really can change the dynamic of your mental wellness. So I know we talk about new year, new me, and I'm cutting everybody off. Guess what? As cliche as it sounds, when I cut so many people out of my life who were not bringing value, my life changed. I got rid of people who made fun of me. I got rid of people who didn't understand when I get overstimulated, I sit somewhere with headphones on. You know, I've heard that I'm arrogant or I'm a drama queen when I host events because I like to be by myself. And I said, no, that is my mental time to tap in with myself to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm present. So changing the people around you can help shift a whole lot because once you get the right people, great things just start happening because now you have people that you can rely on, people that are going to give you honest feedback, even when it hurts sometimes. But I know that it's coming from a place of love and that it's genuine. And that generational trauma, because I'm trying to get my sisters, I'm trying to get them both in some type of counseling and therapy because now as an adult, I'm no longer the baby because I'm freaking old. So now they're starting to tell me things that happened to them that I might not remember. And I'm going to stop talking, I promise, but I got to tap on this because this week I was just kind of like, I understand it now. My sister was telling me all these stories about my mom that I never heard before. Never heard. And I said, well, why didn't she tell me? Oh, well, you were the baby. She didn't tell you those things. I'm like, but I'm still a grown woman. You know what I mean? So just understanding where your trauma comes from. And as a woman, take care of your womb. I can't, express that enough because we hold so much trauma right here, especially Black women. You having cramps for no reason. Your stomach hurting. You feel nauseous. That's because the heaviness and the weight of the world rests right here.
We're going to build off of that, Sam. And I know we've been talking about the church and
We've been talking about having that foundation. And we're going to have Pastor Kyle come up and speak with us about the church a bit. He left. Okay. All right. Well, we'll oh.
Yes. I'm coming out to the audience. Yeah. No.
So just really quick, sir, thank you for bringing that up. We definitely don't forget about the vets. I think a lot of people up here specialize in modalities that are for everybody. So that's the beautiful thing. Doc specializes in everything. So if you haven't attempted to try something holistic, I definitely suggest that you do ashwagandha, mushrooms, cannabis. So, but definitely talk to somebody that specializes in that so you can get more information. I specialize in EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And that is a life changer for everybody. For everybody.
I would say go to that first, and if you don't like that, don't even get no therapy.
I guarantee you don't like EMDR. So I got you. I've worked with a couple clients who are veterans. I've worked with my uncle who was a veteran in '75 with EMDR. I'll just speak from his experience, but he has been able to feel that left side of his brain and sensations that were gone, that came back. So when we talk about generational trauma, like it's so deeper than people realize. Like when we're in the womb of our mothers, like our trauma is formed in for us in our brains. We have an early part of the brain that when we come out and we're conceived, we're already in a state of trauma. We're literally born into sin. We're literally already born into trauma. People don't realize that. But the beautiful thing with EMDR is it's a magical time machine where it can go all the way back to that earliest part of the brain, which begins in the womb, and you can heal yourself. What people don't realize is that we're waiting on that next person to change. We're waiting on that next person to apologize, but a lot of times that's not going to happen. So you do have the power to heal yourself, and EMDR allows you to do that. So the only time it doesn't work is when you don't want to go back and feel, but you got to understand in order to heal, you got to feel. And also with individuals with personality disorders, the two times that it doesn't work, but it is effective. It's you versus you. It will take you back to the trauma where you have your present self sitting here with a therapist going back in time of a trauma, which sounds scary, but it's always going to follow you if you don't go back and deal with that shadow and that monster. It's always going to be in the body. So literally the mind is connected to the gut, and everything that we suppress and we don't discuss is just sitting there, just boiling, leading to prostate cancer, the colon cancer in black men. Like autoimmune disorder, like she said, the cramps, the physical pain. I've seen so many people come to EMDR who have irritable bowel syndrome and don't even realize where that comes from because it's just sitting there. Then they have diarrhea once they go through a couple of EMDR sessions because it's clearing everything out. So these natural holistic approaches, I'm so glad that everybody's here to share this stuff because there's so much more out there that is not displayed for us.
We want to go.
We're gonna take another question from the audience.
Hey, I'm MJ. I think you pretty much touched on it. I was gonna ask the panel about, how important it is for genetic DNA testing in your practice. I'm in the wellness industry myself, been in it for almost 20 years, and that's very important. Food is important too, but we're not talking about that. And it's very important. It's just important, for your mental health and everything else. But I just wanted to know how important in your practice is genetic DNA testing. I use a form of testing for my clients when they ask for meal plans and physical fitness training and things of that sort, because it's important for me to be able to help them move forward. So I think you touched on it a little bit with the type of EMDR therapy. So I just wanted to know how many of you on the panel with that.
I don't do DNA testing, but I'm a marriage and family therapist. So we do genomes, which allows us to go back to family history and break down generations from generations. I did one on myself, and I found out that emotional detachment was really real in my family. Anxiety was really real in my family. So I've never done the DNA testing, but as a marriage and family therapist, we do genograms.
I would say, I don't do DNA testing, but we do genograms, timelines, things like that are very important to try to help trace back where folks' trauma, things that occur in people's lives, like to help them research and bring them back to the source of their emotions and feelings.
I don't do genetic testing, but what I will say about it is that one has to be ready to receive information and what to do with that information. I think if we get too much too soon, we decide to become the thing that we think we can become. You know what I'm saying? All it is with genetic testing, you're looking at predispositions for something. It doesn't mean it's going to actually happen. For it to actually happen, those diseases are predetermined. Predetermined are the ones you can't vegan your way out of it, you're not going to gluten your way out of it. Those are things that's going to happen. But most diagnostics are it's a predisposition. It's a maybe. It's a maybe of genetic mixed with your environment, mixed with sociological concerns, all these things. But sometimes if you give someone just that information, if you get on WebMD, all of a sudden you got every diagnosis you look up. You didn't know that. Let me tell you, I did 23andMe. I did the genetic thing like a long time ago, and it said I had the 2 copies from macular degeneration, which is losing sight in the central field of your eye, right? And now I know for a fact that this a predisposition. I know it doesn't mean I'm going to get it. Don't you know? Instantly, I felt like I couldn't see nothing. Instantly, I'm like, I can't see. I'm losing my sight immediately. So I make a whole appointment with an eye disease doctor, right? Now, there's nothing in there but seniors. At the time, this has got to be like 2 years ago. And she's like, why do you think you got this? I was like, just check it. And I told her, she said, are you doing this? Are you doing this? She named all these risk factors. I was like, no, I'm not doing any of that, right? And she checked and said, you're fine. She said, It doesn't mean you have it just because you got these copies. You know, it doesn't mean it's going to show up, right? There's a marriage between environment and biology that has to happen to decide how much of the gene decides to express yourself or not express itself, you know. So the genetic thing is not the end all be all. That's why your environment and how you negotiate your environment really does matter, you know. But one thing I absolutely need to feel like I have to add is when we talked about what you're talking about with seeking attention. That is something we say a lot in our culture. Oh, they're just seeking attention. They're just seeking attention. And I really make sure I fight against that, because what people and children are actually doing is seeking comfort. That's what they're doing, is comfort. And we don't look at it that way. So when I encourage parents and their teachers and anyone who works with children, say, change it to seeking comfort and see how you feel about it then. It feels different, right? Because seeking attention to you feels agitated. Seeking comfort is like, now I got some empathy for you. What are you seeking from me? What do you need? You know? And instead of someone saying they're acting bad or they're acting out, they're dysregulated. Dysregulated feels different. I'm going to approach it differently, you know? There's this phrase that to me is so powerful. And it said, what cannot be articulated to the mother cannot be articulated to the self. Which basically is saying that our caregivers are hold up the image to who we are at the very beginning. And if we don't get a good reflection back, we struggle. And so it doesn't mean, it's not a death sentence though. It does mean that we'll be spending time recreating and deciding what that image is if they've given up an image that's negative, right? So I just wanted to make sure I added that, because like that's such a thing for us, it's the seeking attention thing. And I wanted to make sure that we understand is that in reality, we're seeking comfort. We need to be regulated. The body has to be regulated, and we want to seek comfort for that, you know? And I love EMDR. It is absolutely wonderful. I went through the training myself. I ended up having a memory come back that made me understand why I was struggling with something, just by going through the process myself, you know? And all it is saying is that it's, what did you say? In order to heal, you have to want to feel, right? You have to be willing to want to feel and be in that space. But when you're with the therapist who knows how to do that, you're going to be in that space with them. It's painful, but pain is not nothing to run from. It's not nothing to run from. So my goal as a therapist to make sure I'm sitting with you in that painful space. But you know, thank you for. I just really wanted to speak to that attention piece, because that is like my Achilles right there. When I hear someone say, "Oh, they're just seeking attention," like, no, they're seeking comfort, and that's okay, and that's good.
Yeah. I want us to take another deep breath. It feels so good. In and out. I want to I'm getting so much from this, and I'm so happy that all of you came to sit with us today, and that you guys have so much to offer, and that we know we have places to go and people to talk to, so that we can feel better, so that we can be better, so that we can be connected. I just want to be, speaking of the Woosah, I want to introduce a young lady who's going to talk to us a little bit about yoga, and it's Janetta. Janita, you look beautiful today.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Can we give the pull-up experience and this panel a huge round of applause? Oh my gosh. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. My name is Janita Blue, and I'm grateful to be here today. I have a background in marketing, but most importantly, I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about yoga and spirituality. So, why is it important to have an element of mindfulness in your practice? I don't know. Raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur or have a business, something like that. Okay, perfect. So we got a lot of tips today on what to do and how to cope, and I just want to add in a little bit here. So let's all do a practice together. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and soften your gaze and look down. Imagine you're at home, about to start your day. You're about to
go on a new path, get into your business, maybe you got a couple of things going on. But before you go, before you get out of bed, I just want you to take a minute to take a breath. I invite you to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just notice the natural rhythm of your breath. Take a deep breath in and notice how it feels when your stomach comes up as you inhale, chest, and notice how everything falls down as you exhale. One more time, just like that. Inhale, breathing in from the lower belly, chest, heart. Exhale, drop it down. Now visualize your most perfect day. Visualize the clients coming to you. Visualize things moving smoothly. Notice that even if something comes into your day today, you have the willpower, the confidence to overcome it. You have everything you need and the experience and the faith that you were put into your business for a reason, that you were destined to do the work, the gifts that you were given, they're needed in the society. And know that you were put here to help others. So just honor yourself, feel good, feel the people being inspired by you, feel the people being grateful for you, for the work that you are providing. And just bask in that for a little bit. And again, take a deep breath in, into the belly, fill up the stomach, fill up the heart. Exhale out the chest, out the belly. Last one, breathe into the belly, into the chest, into the heart. Out the heart, out the belly. And slowly dot your eyelashes open. And I invite you to do this every morning. Before you get out of bed, before you start your day, before all the demands come to you, give yourself the time and the space to pour into you and know that you are here for a reason and that your business matters and that you matter. So thank you guys so much. I have yoga classes that I'm offering, guided meditations and retreats, and I would love to connect with you all in addition to spiritual readings. Thank you all, and be sure to always fill your cup up. And again, you're here for a reason. Thank you all.
I know you're going to introduce yourself, but I know you're from Mentally Mangled, and you are an associate of Pastor Cobb.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Andriana, and like you said, I'm with Mentally Mangled. I go to church with Pastor Kyle, and what we do is we try to bridge the gap between therapy and biblical theology. Sometimes people think that you only need one or the other, and you do need both, and they work hand in hand. So while we do offer church services, we want to connect people with the community, therapists, programs, yoga instructors, meditation instructors, and things that will help them better their mental health. Like, we want to make sure that people understand that we're here to do both, and that's our main focus. So we do pop-up shops all the time. If you ever have a need, you can reach out to us on our website if you're going through something, and we can connect you with resources. So that's our main focus, and that's what we do a lot of. Thank you.
But I just want to say that healing and therapy are two different things. And I think that we don't look at it that way, but that is something that I want to remind everyone in this room of. Healing and therapy are two different things. Therapy is therapy. Healing is going deeper and healing yourself and doing the work. A lot of people don't know the difference, but they are two different things. I can say that I would like to say that this whole panel focuses on healing, from what we have all talked about, and that is a beautiful thing. A lot of people ask me about how do you know you have a good therapist if they're doing the work themselves. I just want to remind the audience of that.
So I know I did.
I know that I introduced you all, and I know that I gave your credentials to the audience, but we'd like to wrap this up with you all telling the audience what you have to offer and how they can reach you.
So again, my name is Jerome Ash. I specialize in EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I'm a trauma-informed therapist. I can be reached at growwellcleveland.com. I could be reached at Ghetto Therapy if people have heard of Ghetto Therapy. Instagram name, you can just type in Jerome Ash or Faith, FAVBLK therapist. Brandon has my information if you need to find me. So LinkedIn as well.
I'm Sam with no letters behind me. No, everybody knows that I am Cleveland's #1 curvy hostess. I am also part of the Pull Up Experience team. I am also now a public speaker as well as event hostess and engagement specialist. I am working on an ebook that will teach you all the art of becoming an engaging hostess or public speaker. And you can find me on Instagram at CurvyConfident1 or my website, www.curvycn.com. I don't offer any therapy services or anything like that. But if you want to have some psychedelics and just cry in the wilderness, look me up. That is therapy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. William C. Washington. I go by your friendly neighborhood counselor, Dr. Will. I am a health psychologist, PhD, LPCCS, licensed therapist, clinical therapist, IFS therapist. If anybody's seen the movie Inside Out, that's the therapy I do as well. I teach Black therapists how to be IFS therapists as well nationally. So also a Black Therapist Rock, it's her. And so we go around the U.S. and around the nation talking about being Black-centered. And with my own research, I've actually created my own healing modality that turns trauma into purpose. And so I did that during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I was getting my PhD. So we offer everything. So all my stuff is over there. So individual, couples, family, ketamine, assisted therapy, life coaching, Reiki, yoga, workshops, groups, concierge, counseling. I did concierge specifically for entrepreneurs because your day is not 9 to 5. Your day is 24/7. So you can actually get me like walking with you for the whole day, and I'll monitor you and watch you and see how you live your life. And I do that for a lot of CEOs, and I do a lot of support groups for artists around the nation and some Grammy Award-winning artists. So I'm in mind and music. And I'm on 185th Street. I bought a building right across the Standard, and you can always come in and hang out with me, play some music, and talk about fitness.
My name is Billy Bland. You can reach me at mentally_Billy on Instagram. With my practice, I'm all about thriving and rebellion with God, and just that we can all thrive is not, we are so acclimated to the concept of surviving, we don't know that there's more. So I just encourage as individuals want to reach out, you can reach out on Instagram. I'm also at Parker Counseling Consulting Studio, which is my private practice. And I do have unorthodox hours as well. As like I said, it's not 9 to 5 for most people, not 24/7. It is a lifestyle, right. And I guess it's just about it. I appreciate being here. I appreciate being a part of your experience and this experience. And I really want to say something, because this was on my mind first. I don't think you have to say you don't have anybody's behind your name. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to do that, you know. Your name is enough. And just live in that. I was trying to remind myself, like, you need to say your name is enough. And it carries the weight and the light that it should, you know. And so you don't have to discount by saying it because you belong. And that's just it.
Don't make me cry. Yeah. Right.
I'm Siobhan G. Jones, LPCC. S. You can find me on Psychology Today and LinkedIn. I am right. Right. I'm sure everybody wants Psychology Today. I have my own private practice, which is Siobhan G. Jones Incorporated, and I am also with Hope Behavioral Health, which I coordinate with. I am the practice liaison support specialist there, and I do private practice with them also. Trauma informed grief specialist. I'm so glad to be here with you guys. This is an awesome venue. Glad to be amongst everyone here during this event. This has been a blessing today.
I am Tara Hill, Master's Degree Marriage and Family Therapist, Dr. Jill Loading. I own To Attain Healing Services, which we are located in Maple Heights. We are a community-based practice, so we have case managers and therapists. I am a part of Black Therapists Rock. I also have a partnership with Black Child Development Institute, where we are bridging the gap between mental health and early childhood education. What else? I'm a mother of two, and my thing is love and light. I think that we have to dig deeper to drown out our own darkness. So I practice love and light all day long. So it is hard to do if you're not working on yourselves. Once again, when the work is half the battle. But yeah, that's me.
I do want to thank you all once again for joining us today. This is something that needs to continue on. Yeah. I know not everyone's questions may have been answered, but again, we'll have everyone's information for everyone to be able to reach out if they need to, or we are definitely going to do this again. I feel like we have to continue to do it because it takes a community and it takes these kind of engagements so that we can learn about ourselves, so that we can get the help that we need, whether it be for ourselves or for someone that we may know. You guys have been amazing. Yeah. We're so happy that you sat down and took the time to come out with us today. Please.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like, I didn't say where y'all can find me at. I am Miss Tattoo on Instagram. I also have To Attain Healing Services, Instagram and Facebook, Tara Hill, LinkedIn, Tara Hill. And yeah, we're located in Maple Heights.
Great. There are things, if you guys haven't went around already, information that you can take, and like I said, we'll have information on everyone up here on the panel, so that you guys can reach out if you need to. Thank you all taking time out of your day to be here with us, and we want to keep this going. We want to keep being able to talk to each other and communicate and ask questions that we all may need. So look out for the next one. The next Let's Talk About It in 2025. We will definitely keep mental health on the radar. And you guys, like I said, it's, first of all, we got a black panel up here. And everybody, come on. We got to come on with it. Yes. A license black panel. You know, all right. Licensed black panel. And, sometimes we feel like we may not have the resources because we want to talk to someone who looks like us. Yeah. So this shows us that they are out here and they are within reach. Thank you guys for being here. I just want to announce one thing that we can all participate in coming December 6th. We are having a spade tournament. Spades. I want to see everybody out at that. We're all about community. Yes, we're all about community. We're all about letting our hair down when we need to. If I can whoop on somebody, I want to whoop on somebody on the spades game. But that's going to be December 6th. It's at 6:00. It's at the venue on North Vine, which is 20713 North Vine Avenue in Euclid, Ohio. So look out for that. Watch all of our pages. I'm glad that Sam talked about the pull-up experience. It's not just us, but we have become a strong group of friends and family. And we do. We call on each other. We talk all the time. And it has absolutely helped me as well, just like Sam was talking about. But I want you all to know that you are all a part of our community as well. We could not do this without you. And we feel the love and we try to give it back. We try to communicate and get together as much as we can, like I said, whether it's from us talking about things that can help our mental, whether it's us just getting together and having some fun and enjoying each other, supporting each other. It's all good and we love it and we appreciate you all. We want to keep doing these Let's Talk About It topics, as well as having all you entrepreneurs on the show so that people can know who you are and support you, and we continue to grow as a community. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, you guys, it is Sam from the Pull Up Experience, and we just wrapped up Let's Talk, our mental health panel discussion. We're here at the Ford Bistro. So I'm joined by these two lovely ladies, and I'm gonna ask them some questions about their experiences today. So ladies, please introduce yourselves.
My name is Ebony. If you're interested in getting to know who I am, my page is called Respect the Chocolate, Righteous Transformations. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm a part of the Pull Up family as well.
Yes, my name is Aquila Wheatley, LMFT. I am on Instagram and all the socials as well, A Wheatley MFT. I also have a radio show called Damage Control on 95.9 FM WOBU, and this was an amazing experience.
Definitely.
So what was your favorite part? Yeah, thank you. I never let anybody hold my mic normally.
You say I'm holding it.
I hold it for dear life. So tell me, what is the one, I know there was so much information, so many good things from today. What's one thing that has stuck in your mind after today's conversations?
Just like when we kind of had already spoke before, the vulnerability that you brought in from an entrepreneur's perspective, as well as someone who is currently and presently on their journey. I too myself can relate to that, and the way how your comment just conversed with the veteran that was in the building, because that generational gap is definitely healing that is needed.
Same question.
Well, when it comes to generations, I think the genogramming is so important, right? Because there are so many things that we don't even realize that we're carrying down, those traumas that we're carrying down because we don't know the history behind our families, and we're not tracking. A lot of times I like to do relational genograms, where it is like, what did the relationship between your mother and your father look like? What did the relationship between you and your first boyfriend look like? What was the relationship between you and your father? How does that relate to how you see relationships and attachment now? And so I was so blessed by this panel. It was so absolutely amazing. Even with talking about the ADHD and attentive type and hyperactive type, and the struggles of being a African American male and just being labeled bad instead of someone trying to understand where you're coming from.
And I'm like, with the current climate, it's so important for us to not only connect with each other at this type of level in this type of space, but I think it's important to have this ongoing conversation.
Yes.
So be on the lookout, because in 2025 we will be back with more Let's Talk mental health discussion panels. And don't forget, Spades tournament is happening in December, so make sure you mark your calendars.
Yes.
If you're like me, I'm trying to find an Uno table. So
Right.
so thank you,
spades
ladies.
get lethal.
Yeah, I'm not willing to lose a friendship over spades. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here. Please stay connected with the Pull-Up Experience, and we can't wait to see you guys the next time.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, you're welcome. Thank you.